What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word weapon? Is it the M16 or the Russian AK-47, which can be even found on the flags and emblems of multiple African nations? Or maybe it's the legendary Smith Wesson revolver. But what if we tell you that weapons can be used in a way with far more exciting technologies than a simple gunshot? What about using sound as a weapon? Or have technologies advanced far enough that real laser guns can exist? We know the answer, since we've compiled a list of the most unusual, shocking, and effective weapons in the world. Believe us, it is unlike anything you're used to. Powerful, massive. The mere sight of such a gun can strike some serious fear into your adversary, right? And if you saw this weapon at France's military parade on July 14th, you would probably think it was something immensely destructive. Well, the effectiveness of this weapon when it comes to eliminating targets is indeed quite high. But the thing is, this gun, called the Narad F5, is not created to fight living enemies. So, who then? Robots, of course. It's no secret that drones have been armed with guns and assault rifles and turned into combat ones for a while. They can be fairly effective on the battlefield. This is why the innovative Narad F5 was invented, a specialized weapon for fighting drones. Visually, it doesn't have the kind of barrel that we're used to. Instead, it uses electromagnetic interference generators. They emit a large amount of electromagnetic radiation. This is an important advantage, as shooting must not necessarily be targeted. Enough for a stream of interference to cover the drone, and then the drone will lose control. Electromagnetic interference disturbs radio signals across a wide area and prevents the drone from communicating with base. But the Narad F5 is not the only rifle of its kind. Such guns are being developed more and more since the amount of drones on the planet keeps growing. Take, for instance, Mattel's Drone Defender, which has an effective range up to 1,312 feet or 400 meters, allowing it to take down drones flying at almost any height. Another development is the drone gun, which comes packaged together with an interference generator placed in your backpack. The gun and the generator are connected via a special cord. Besides creating a radio silence zone, Drone Gun also suppresses GPS signals. Machine guns can shoot so fast that they run out of ammo before you can even blink. But they have one limitation. They can only shoot one bullet at a time. And what about a machine gun that can shoot 1,000,000 bullets at once? Such a development got the name of Metal Storm. Multiple launch systems and artillery sometimes use several barrels. But this development is the first experiment of using this technology for handheld or relatively small weapons. The author of the project is Australian Mike O'Dwyer. He significantly simplified the weapon's construction in favor of rate of fire. The only moving part in his system is the trigger. There are 7 charges in each barrel with ammunition packed between them. There are dozens of such barrels. You could shoot a volley from a single barrel and multiple bullets will fly at the target with minimum deviation. Or you could fire off all the barrels at once. The record is 135,000 bullets per minute. A veritable hurricane of lead capable of tearing any target to shreds. But it turns out that the Metal Storm may also be used for peaceful purposes. For example, for fighting a fire. Pulling up tens of thousands of capsules filled with fire-extinguishing solutions may be of substantial help in fighting with the elements. Albeit the simple design of the barrel also increases the recharging time. What do you think? Is this a critical flaw? In 2018, an American diplomat working in China went to the doctor. He had a headache and impaired hearing. The diplomat told the doctor he'd experienced a strange audio sensation. The only explanation that comes to mind is that the diplomat was attacked with a non-lethal sonic weapon. This incident in China got the military thinking that a secret acoustic weapon had been used in the country. There are sounds that humans almost can't hear. Infrasound is a lower frequency than human range of hearing, and ultrasound is higher, and if they're used intensively enough, both of them can affect a human's well-being. Infrasound usually causes digestive issues. Ultrasound deafens and causes headaches. Why? Well, because it creates microscopic bubbles in various body tissues, inner ear fluid, blood, and even different organs. Even very powerful ultrasound can barely be heard by the human ear, and even though the effects of sonic weaponry are known, its capabilities are not yet clear. Who knows what such a gun can do? And what does it even look like? These traits make sonic weapons the perfect choice for eliminating the enemy discreetly and carrying out sabotage. Scary, right? In early 2019, news came out that some of Russia's military ships were equipped with visual optical interference weapons. This means that the weapon blinds, disorients, and even causes hallucinations of the enemy. No, of course, we're not talking about psychological weapons, and if you fall under its influence, you won't, for example, see a fluffy dragon pouring you tea. But colorful circles in front of your eyes, bright spots of light, and glare, all of which will interfere with your ability to orientate. This is the kind of hallucination you can expect. This experimental weapon is called 5P42 Fill-In Eagle Owl. It uses high-intensity light impulses. The effective range is about 1.2 miles, or 2 kilometers. The goal is to prevent the enemy from targeting the ship. What do you think? How can you defend yourself against such a weapon? What if you make the targeting systems fully automatic? Of course, when talking about futuristic weaponry, sci-fi action movies promptly come to mind. What kind of weapon should it be? Lasers, of course. You don't have to use thermal energy, intensive light is enough. The American Phaser Rifle is a non-lethal laser weapon. Instead of trying to burn the enemy, it blinds them. That's also effective, right? Blinding lasers were developed quite a long time ago. There's even a UN convention from 1995 that puts a ban on such lasers, which led to permanent blindness. Luckily, Phaser only blinds the enemy temporarily, and nevertheless, causing blindness is not the only thing laser technology is capable of. For example, HELADS provides active defense from various projectiles and rockets. How? Well, even though the heat used in the laser has limited power, it's enough to explode a projectile before it hits the target. And what about the opposite effect, as in a technology that uses heat without using light? Such a thing already exists, and it's called the active denial system. This is a non-lethal weapon used by the police. Its principle is that a targeted electromagnetic impulse is used to cause a sensation of powerful burning on the enemy's skin. This should not only cause pain, but trigger panic and the desire to run away. Interestingly enough, the electromagnetic beam causes pain after just a couple of seconds, but in rare cases leads to burns, and non-lethal ones at that. Do you consider it humane for such weapons to be handled by the police? Sound has been used as a weapon for quite a while now, and usually one would not resort to frequencies that can't be heard by the human ear. Quite the opposite. Non-lethal sonic weaponry was made to generate incredibly loud noises to disorient the enemy, stun them, and cause a panic attack. For instance, this is the reason the LRAD sound cannon was developed. This weapon generates a 162 decibel loud sound. For comparison, a modern jet airplane makes 130 to 140 decibels of noise if you stand right next to it. In practice, this means that the LRAD sound cannon can be heard from 5.5 miles or 9 kilometers away. But this weapon was created to affect people standing much closer, namely to suppress protesters and fight against armed crowds. If you get within this weapon's effective range of 330 feet or 100 meters, you will experience a terrible headache. And if you're within 50 feet or 15 meters, you can lose your hearing forever. The LRAD sound cannon is actively criticized because such a powerful sound wave causes complete disorientation. This means the weapon can't fulfill its direct function, scare away aggressively minded individuals. Because instead of running, they'll stay in place in total insanity, and may even lose their hearing forever. What do you think about this weapon? Do you consider it inhumane? And now, get ready to see a weapon that does fire bullets, but in a truly astounding way. It is unlike anything you've ever seen before. The weapon is called Dread. It's a unique handheld gun that uses centrifugal force instead of gunpowder. Inside the hull, there is a special round block. This rotates with the help of electrical energy. The block accelerates the round bullets that are inside and then shoots them at the target. Since Dread doesn't use gunpowder, there's no muzzle flash, which makes tracking the shooter much more difficult. The weapon is almost noiseless, which is also very cool. But the most important thing is rate of fire. An M16 shoots up to 900 bullets a minute, while the Dread shoots up to 120,000. The speed at which the bullet flies is more than twice as high as that of this assault rifle. Currently, there are working prototypes by manufacturer Trinamic Technologies, but it's unknown when mass production will begin. What projectile do you think is the most destructive? And what if we tell you that one weapon you can't protect against will fire liquid? We're talking about one of the USA's most promising military inventions, magneto-hydrodynamic explosive munition. Mayhem. This weapon will fire liquids, namely a powerful stream of molten metal. It will be launched at the target via a directed electromagnetic field. A powerful impulse will help accelerate such liquid ammunition to enormous speed. Even the heaviest, most well-protected armored tanks of the future, with hulls made of the most unusual and strong materials, will melt under the stream of molten metal like they're made out of wax. Currently, magneto-hydrodynamic explosive munition is only under development, but the interesting thing is that the principle for this gun's function was invented in 1955 by sci-fi author Arthur Clarke in his novel Earthlight, and modern technologies allow one to make something like that a reality, at least in the future. What sci-fi inventions you've read about do you think military engineers should use? High-caliber artillery guns usually resemble handheld weapons, a barrel that's just like that of a handgun, just 100 times bigger. But the artillery of the future might likely switch to rails. Such weapons are called railguns. To launch projectiles, they use electromagnetic fields. These fields are created by very powerful but brief electric pulses to parallel rails with opposite charges. Additional acceleration is created by the plasma that forms behind the projectile. This is all theory, but the gun looks very impressive in practice. It allows one to accelerate even a very heavy projectile to tremendous speeds. No armor will be strong enough to save the enemy. The only thing is, the rails wear out quickly from the friction with the projectile, and the energy consumption of the gun is quite enormous. On the other hand, it has incredible penetrative power and range. The projectile only accelerates after hitting another object. This is why it can fly from Washington to Philadelphia faster than 2 minutes. Do you think this invention is worthy of attention? But the strangest and most impressive potential weapon will make you forget about conventional guns and turn your attention to insects. No, we're not talking about microscopic drones that look like insects, but actual living creatures. Bugs, for example, that have special microscopic chips implanted into them. Just think, actual cyborg insects. Using implanted sensors, they can collect information across large areas, and their flight can be controlled remotely. Antenna, a battery, sensors, all weighing under 0.05 ounces or 1.33 grams, allowing the insect to fly. So the next time you see a bug circling one particular spot for a strangely long time, think to yourself, what if it's actually a cyber spy? What do you think? Which of these modern weapons is the most promising? Answer in the comments, click like, and subscribe to our channel.